Hello, 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 and welcome to Coder Radio. This is the one, the only, the organic, a meat space, not bot space, Mike. How are you doing today? This is a special episode. It's episode 650. I hope you guys enjoyed Mike Bots, which is we could talk about that a little bit, an LLM that I generated to do the show while I was out. I'm okay. I had some medical maintenance I needed to do, basically. Yeah, let's just jump right into that. So overall, I was very surprised with the feedback because just about every time I post something, whether it's this, the audio show or a post or something like that, there is a large contingency of folks who immediately start screaming, AI slop, AI slop. And the thing that was actually AI, right? A show with Mike Bot, right? An LLM as the host, got rave responses, which I found very odd. I'll give you an example. Earlier this week, I guess last night, as I'm recording this, I posted my review of Cosmic's 1.5 update, which we could talk about briefly in a minute. And I run it through a tool that does some optimizations for it gives you like an SEO score, and it gives you now an LLM score, which is basically like SEO for, Gemini and ChatGPT. What I didn't know it would do is it screwed up all my formatting because the tool I use to generally write my post is a markdown editor that has a publish to, right? So you put in your WordPress credentials and all that good stuff. So it turns out this tool and this script are not compatible. So what it did was it showed me a preview that looked, normally formatted paragraphs, and it blew up all the formatting. So the minute that baby hit Reddit, because of course I have everything set up to share, right? Part of the point. God damn, just like the minute. Like AI slop. Although I will say things I've written by hand, like it is to the point where I do feel for any of you who also post any kind of content. I'm pretty sure you could write on parchment with a fountain pen in cursive, like a Gregorian monk, your manifesto or whatever, and someone would say AI slop. It's pretty annoying. And yet, the one thing that I thought for sure I'd get roasted. And I actually thought the joke would be, y'all say I slop all the time. So here you go. Here's AI Coder Radio. Got rave reviews. Now, I think part of it was because he did, I don't think he called it a mumble rap. Certainly. See, this is where my uncool dadness comes into play. Is that EDM? Electronic dance music? I guess, right? He did a fast rap on everybody's favorite Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. Also shocking. A lot of you replied that you also like The Phantom Menace. Where were you 10 years ago when I was getting roasted for my love of arguably the best Star Wars movie as I duck for cover? So no, it's not going to be a regular thing. Some people messaged me on Discord. I'm concerned, it hasn't happened yet, that will Google flag that episode because where did they get that EDM track from? I think they generate it. That voice is clearly not my voice. So I'm assuming, and you might remember a couple of years ago, Chris and I did something similar where we had a segment. It was much more faithful and a little scarier to what we sound like. So I think that's interesting too. I kept trying to get it to copy me as much as possible. And I kept feeding it like my personal blog and, and some of the Mad Botter marketing stuff. And obviously the back catalog here, coder.show. And it didn't do it. I wonder if that doesn't have something to do with all the IP lawsuits, from authors, from very famously Scarlett Johansson. And yeah, so it's interesting. I will say there are, in the roughly 3 minutes that the bot hosted the show, it makes a number of factual errors. One thing I thought was super interesting is it tries to promote a product that I don't sell or have. I do own the name to it, so I'm not sure where it got that from. That was pretty weird. So yeah, good clean fun. Maybe we'll do another prank episode. I don't know. Obviously the natural fit would be, we're June now, but maybe April Fool's Day next year. I just, part of the reason I don't want to do that is I hate that the internet turns into garbage on April 1st because there's really nothing good to read or listen to. So I'm sort of disinclined to do that, but we'll see. All right, jumping right in. So, Cosmic Review 1.5. I have a blog post up on this at dominickm.com, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. Basically, it's a bunch of quality of life fixes, many of which are targeted around gaming and some of the wonkiness that does exist if you're using Cosmic Desktop with certain full screen issues in particularly Steam games. I have seen a massive improvement. For instance, I'm currently playing through Mass Effect, the Legendary Edition, which is like a roll up of all three, which is great because it was super cheap on Steam when I bought it. The problem with that is it also has like a dual launcher thing where it launches the EA launcher and then it launches its own launcher. And then from there, you have to select the specific, 1, 2, 3 version of Mass Effect you want. And that, just the full screen would flip out on Cosmic. Now it does not, which is nice. I did have someone respond to the post saying they're still having issues with Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm going to assume that there are still going to be a few things where you have to go into Proton and tweak it. Again, the things I tested work fine. The other big change, if you are into gaming on Linux, is I don't want to say broken, but they were pretty wonky. High-end gaming mice, like the Logitech, whatever fancy, stupid name they gave it. And a lot of the Razer Nagas, which is what I have. I have an old wired Razer. Some of the macro keys, like the numpad on the side, would not work properly or would work, let's say, in unexpected ways as opposed to how they worked on Windows. Now, at least in my testing, those work. So that's good. That's a big, I know I'm not a competitive, I'm not StarCraft doing it. Do people even play that anymore? Or am I just dating myself? But if you care that much, that's good. Other big change was there was a bug with MIME types, right? MIME types are what let the system know, like this is an image, this is a video, this is a PDF. That has been fixed. Honestly, that is, to me, the most important change because it's a quality of life thing. I manipulate files all the time. I want to call it the Finder, but I know it's not. The Cosmic Files app to behave properly, and it appears to have fixed the issue. So great. I will say I take the criticism in response to the post that it is still not necessarily fully 1.0-ish, although it's Epoch 1.5, whatever that means. Some people are still complaining about stability issues or performance issues. And then other people are saying, yes, it's great and it hasn't been a problem for a while. I think a lot of that is going to be a little hardware dependent. And also, what is your performance profile, right? What hardware are you running, obviously, but also what's your tolerances? Are you used to a more bare bounds, less bells and whistles system where you're just trying to bleed everything you can out of graphics cards? Again, like the one dude who replied said he was a competitive online gamer. And I could see that, again, not my area, but I'm sure that microseconds matter there, right? You're doing reflexes. You've got your crazy macros. God bless you. So something to check out. I am going to be looking at a few other distros on the same hardware shortly. I was considering just stock GNOME, but Bazzite has also had a big release. So I'm considering giving that a go. Oh, the other fix in 1.5 here is it behaves much better in Steam big screen mode. So that's the mode where if you have a big monitor or you're hooked to a TV, it acts like a console. So that's good. Again, not something I use. If you follow me, or if you're in the Discord and you ask me what I'm playing, it's usually going to be like Civ 7, XCOM, something like that. So not necessarily the target for this, but I understand why people want it and it's good to have it. So we hit 100K in unique monthly downloads, in a month. So thank you guys. Because of that, now I can't do the robes. The robes robes are not viable. They're too heavy, especially now with crazy tariffs and shipping being out of control. But I think what we can do is light jackets. So if for the month of June and July, we also hit 100K, I will put in the order and we will get some light jackets. I'm looking at styles now. When I say light, I'm talking windbreakers, right? I think that's reasonable because everybody in different climate regions would be able to wear them at some point during the year. Yeah, and I'm looking at colors, and I'm looking at designs. You'll also notice the logo has been redesigned to be very sci-fi, Star Warsy logo now, back to the black and green. I think it works better, so that's fun. That was not just a MikeBot hack. Other things that are interesting. So Build just happened. I'm surprised they didn't just rename it Microsoft LinuxCon. Again, I have a post coming out about this. By the time this airs, it'll be out. But they've adopted core utilities, which is all the basic Linux command line utilities you know and love, or if you're a new user to Linux, that you're just writing down or have a little cheat sheet for. And they're adopting them natively. So yay. Full first-party support for containerized Linux. The difference between that and, let's say, just WSL is it's actually in a container, so more isolation. And something I found odd, they're releasing, I can't call it a new version, but a new configuration of Windows, like called developer mode, which is also coming out on that specific Spark PC thing, which is just a pre-configured PC with tons of RAM for LLM development. But it by default has all the WSL stuff configured and installed, which, I mean, what a change from the Ballmer days of Linux as a cancer, right? They are fully embracing it. It's kind of shocking how much they've put into it. Another thing is they have released a version of Postgres, specifically on Azure, that is optimized for, they call it AI workflows. Basically, it's got built-in vectorization. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. Look it up. We actually look at the back catalog. We had the Qubit people on, and they're big into that. That's really nice. If you're, Azure's not a sponsor, right? I'm not shilling for Microsoft here. But it just is the case, especially in the large regulated or semi-regulated industries that I tend to work with. And I think many of you who are working in the enterprise, managers love them some Azure, right? It's tough. Sometimes it can be hard to get them off of it. And honestly, they have done, I would say particularly over the last 3 years, so much to make the non-Microsoft developer experience on Azure first class. It's pretty good. I love the idea of this managed Postgres with built-in vectorization. Since everybody and their brother, this is one of my big bets for the future, is going to want their own LLM running on their, if not literally their iron, but their tenant, to use the Azure parlance for this. So that is a good shortcut that you can take. There are also other, there's open source things you can do too. Maybe we should have an episode on vectorization. Maybe not. I don't know how much you guys are interested in that. So speaking of AI, I have a house ad to read. It's for me. So we are running a promotion. We've kind of souped up our legacy data offer to be an AI readiness assessment. So this is a thing people kept asking for that I didn't have an offer for. So I'd have to bespoke it every time. Now the deal is we do a full AI readiness assessment. It's $5,000 flat. But if you go with us for the implementation, that $5,000 gets credited to your project. So it's essentially free. Unless you take the report and the blueprint and decide to build it yourself, which you're totally free to, or go with another vendor, which you're free to, but then you don't get the $5,000 credit. So there's that. Yeah, that is good through the summer. I've decided just to keep it going. I know the original legacy data offer was till June, but too many people wanted that, and I priced it too low, and people wanted more than the original offer was. The original one was just update your legacy data with to a limited amount of data. Turned out it wasn't a big enough offer for most people, and we ended up doing kind of bespoke deals on the side, which I understand is it's just time consuming, right? It's a lot of process, got to get approvals. So this should be easier. I think this is big enough that it's going to cover, I would say, almost everybody. Again, if you're a Coder Radio fan, let me know. You guys get first dibs. And that's my little house ad. We have actual advertisers coming next episode. So, other housekeeping here. I did get all the layoff emails. So I think what I want to do is hold them probably another couple months to see how this shakes out. I just have a feeling that this is going to probably be a primary topic for the end of the year show. I'm sure if you follow tech news generally, You probably heard about the disaster where Facebook fired a bunch of their trust and safety people and had an AI doing their account, support and security. And that AI just gave up access to a bunch of celebrity accounts. It was effectively social engineered. So that's not great. I still believe that a lot of these layoffs are a fig leaf to cover, cap table is the wrong word, but basically the P&L because of large scale capital investment in AI infrastructure. I also think just like with the hiring spree in COVID, these companies tend to, they issue a mandate from on high, and then the people implementing it, the middle managers, tend to go a little overboard. We're already hearing stories of that they're letting people go, but then they're quietly rehiring some of them. So we'll see where we land. Certainly, if you are a junior developer, if you're just out of college, it's June 7th right now, right? So graduation just happened. I definitely understand the anxiety. It's a tough time to be a junior. It really is. But let's not call it before it's done. Because, I have been doing which I keep extending, my great AI coding tool evaluation. And the more I use them, it's definitely not fake, right? The whole idea that AI can do a lot of coding isn't fake. But it's for anything beyond a prototype, anything production serious, right? For serious production that you're going to have to maintain for any length of time, you're not going to vibe code your way to glory. I would even argue you can vibe code your way to a prototype to give a presentation on. You can certainly vibe code unit tests, which I've found incredibly helpful. And I've actually been able to pass the savings on to my clients there, those who are okay with it. We can talk about this more in a different episode because I have a whole thing on it. But, hooking up the coding assistant with your CI is certainly valuable. But the idea of really production quality enterprise apps that are completely vibe coded and that are maintainable for, let's say, I consider the life cycle of an enterprise app measured in years, right? That seems kind of pipe dreamy to me. So you just keep that in mind. Let's see what else. We don't check out the Discord. Next week's show, we have a guest again. And yeah, let me know what you think. I hope you don't miss Mike Bach too much. He's a missing you. I couldn't get him to do Jar Jar's voice. I see it. That's why I think they tightened it up because of IP. All right, check back again next week. We have an awesome guest. And last thing. See, this is how you know I'm doing it off the cuff. This week is WWDC. I haven't really done a big WWDC special in a few years. I think I might this year. So we may not have. The next episode you hear may not have a guest. Depending on if they release anything actually developer oriented, then I will. If it's more on the consumer, this is the new whatever. I know there's all kinds of rumors about a Apple glasses or who God knows what, right? Then I probably will just put it as a small segment before the interview. So it's really going to depend. I mean, Apple is Apple. There's those rumors about a new iMac Pro. That might be interesting to look at because what they think an ideal dev station is, especially with NVIDIA coming out with their stuff, Microsoft coming out. I forgot the name of the little box, but right, they're effectively kill the Mac Mini competitor. So we'll see. Also, I'm sure they are aware that they're selling tons and tons and tons of Mac Minis for folks to use as local LLM stations. I would not be surprised if they acknowledge that in some way with some sort of tooling. If they do, obviously that would be interesting. And I know, despite what some would say, a lot of you are in fact running Mac OS, and that's totally fine. And if you want, a little more coverage on that toolchain, that's cool. And we'll go from there. All right. Talk to you next week. Bye, Z's.